Have you ever planted something that looked absolutely stunning at first glance? Maybe it had beautiful flowers, lush green leaves, or it promised to be low maintenance, only to realize a year later that it had completely taken over your entire garden? It starts small, creeping in quietly, and before you know it, you're pulling it out by the handful, watching it smother your other plants, and wondering how on earth you're ever going to control it. Trust me, I've been there, and it's one of the most frustrating experiences a gardener can have. But don't worry, you're not alone. In today's video, I'm going to reveal 7 invasive perennials you should never ever plant, and just as importantly, I'll share the beautiful, safe alternatives you can grow instead to get that same look and charm without the nightmare of endless weeding and battling. And stick around until the end, because the very last plant on this list looks totally harmless, even innocent, but it's actually worse than all the rest combined. You do not want it in your yard. Welcome back to the channel, friends. If you're new here, I absolutely love helping gardeners like you create spaces that are not only beautiful and low maintenance, but also sustainable and wildlife friendly. Whether you're a complete beginner or a seasoned green thumb, this is the place to be if you want your garden to truly thrive. Now, before we dive into the list, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a plant that completely got out of control? Maybe it spread across your flower beds, took over your borders, or popped up in places you never wanted it? If that's ever happened to you, go ahead and hit that like button right now. I want to know I'm not the only one who's dealt with this. And while you're at it, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you never miss future videos. We're building an amazing community of gardeners here, and every week I share practical tips, plant recommendations, and design ideas to help you save time, avoid costly mistakes, and enjoy a garden you can truly be proud of. So let's jump straight into our list, starting with the first invasive perennial you'll definitely want to avoid. All right, let's start with one of the biggest offenders, English ivy. Now, don't get me wrong, at first glance, this looks gorgeous. Those deep green leaves, the way it climbs walls and fences, it almost feels like something out of a romantic old garden scene. But the reality, English ivy is like the house guest who overstays their welcome and then starts rearranging your furniture. Once it gets into your garden, it doesn't politely stay where you put it. It spreads aggressively across the ground, climbs up trees, and even damages brickwork and siding on your home. I've seen entire fences completely hidden under a thick mat of ivy, and the problem is it doesn't just look messy, it actually suffocates whatever it covers. Trees wrapped in ivy can become weakened and more likely to fall in storms. And if you've ever tried to rip it out, those roots cling like crazy. You pull one section and 10 more are hiding underneath. So what can you do instead? If you love that classic leafy green look of ivy but don't want the chaos, try planting Virginia creeper or climbing hydrangea. These are far better behaved, give you that same lush coverage, and they even bring seasonal interest. Virginia creeper, for example, turns a brilliant red in the fall. It's like a fireworks display on your fence. And climbing hydrangea produces stunning white blooms in summer without suffocating your trees or tearing apart your walls. So trust me, skip the English ivy. It's one of those plants that seems harmless in the nursery pot, but once it's in the ground, it quickly takes over and becomes your full-time job to control. Next up, we have lily of the valley. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, that plant is beautiful. It has such delicate little white bells and a heavenly fragrance. And you're absolutely right. Lily of the valley looks like the sweetest, most innocent plant you could add to your garden. But here's the catch. It spreads underground through an aggressive system of rhizomes, and once it's established, it doesn't know when to quit. I've walked into gardens where lily of the valley started as a small, neat patch in a shady corner. Fast forward a few seasons, and that same patch had crept across entire beds, choking out ferns, hostas, and even spring bulbs. It forms these dense colonies that make it nearly impossible for other plants to thrive. And the worst part? Digging it out is backbreaking because those rhizomes weave themselves deep into the soil. You think you've removed it, and then the following spring, boom, It's back again, as if nothing happened. But here's the good news. If you're looking for something that gives you those charming, fragrant flowers without the invasive headache, try planting snowdrops or Virginia bluebells. Snowdrops bloom early in spring and give you that same delicate vibe, while Virginia bluebells create breathtaking clusters of bell-shaped blooms that pollinators love. Both of these alternatives are non-invasive, add beauty to your shady spots, and won't leave you cursing under your breath every time you try to weed them out. So while lily of the valley may smell sweet, don't be fooled. It's one of those plants that looks angelic but behaves like a garden bully. Coming in at number 3, we have Japanese knotweed. And let me tell you, if there's one plant that has earned a reputation as a gardener's worst nightmare, it's this one. From a distance, it doesn't look too threatening. Tall, bamboo-like stems, heart-shaped leaves, and clusters of creamy white flowers in late summer. You might even think it looks a little exotic and pretty. But beneath the surface, it's an absolute monster. Japanese knotweed spreads through an incredibly tough root system called rhizomes that can extend several feet underground and outwards in every direction. And here's the scary part. These roots are so powerful, they've been known to push through concrete, damage foundations, and even break into drainage systems. Yes, this plant can actually lower property values because once it's on your land, it's considered almost impossible to eradicate completely. In fact, in some places, it's classified as a serious invasive species, and professional removal services are the only reliable way to get rid of it. So, what's the alternative if you love tall, bold plants that bring drama to your garden? Instead of risking your sanity with Japanese knotweed, try planting Joe Pyeweed or switchgrass. Joe Pyeweed is a tall, pollinator-friendly perennial with gorgeous pink-purple flower clusters that butterflies adore. It gives you that same vertical height, but without the destructive tendencies. And switchgrass is a native ornamental grass that's graceful, low maintenance, and provides wonderful movement in the wind. Both of these plants will add structure and interest to your garden, but they won't tear your yard apart in the process. So here's the bottom line. Japanese knotweed may look like an exotic gem, but it's really the ticking time bomb of the plant world. Trust me, you do not want it anywhere near your home. Next on the list, plant number 4, purple loosestrife. Now, if you've ever seen it blooming in summer, you'll know why so many gardeners are tempted by it. Tall spikes covered in masses of brilliant magenta flowers. It's striking, it's colorful, and at first glance, it feels like the perfect choice for adding a pop of drama to your borders or near a pond. But here's the problem. Purple loosestrife doesn't stay put. Once it's introduced to a moist area, it spreads like wildfire. This plant produces an enormous number of seeds, hundreds of thousands per plant, and those seeds can easily travel through water or on the wind. In wetlands, ditches, and riverbanks, purple loosestrife has been known to form huge monocultures, crowding out native plants, destroying habitats for wildlife, and drastically reducing biodiversity. In fact, ecologists consider it one of the most damaging invasive plants for wetland ecosystems. And once it gets established, it's extremely difficult to bring back balance. So what can you plant instead if you love those vibrant purple flower spikes? 2 fantastic alternatives are blazing star or Liatris spicata and bee balm or monarda. Blazing star produces tall, showy spikes of purple blooms that look just as eye-catching as loosestrife, but it's a native plant that supports pollinators rather than displacing them. Bee balm, on the other hand, has clusters of vibrant, shaggy flowers in shades of purple, pink, and red, and it's a magnet for bees, butterflies, and even hummingbirds. Both options give you the color and drama you're looking for, while actively supporting your local ecosystem instead of harming it. So, while purple loosestrife might look like a dream in bloom, in reality, it's a nightmare for wetlands and a serious threat to native species. Choose blazing star or bee balm instead. You'll get all the beauty without the guilt. Number 5 on our list is periwinkle, also known as vinca. Now, I'll admit, on the surface, periwinkle seems like the perfect ground cover. It's evergreen, it produces charming little purple or blue flowers in spring, and it spreads quickly to cover bare soil. Many gardeners buy it thinking, great, this'll keep the weeds down and look tidy all year. But here's the reality. Periwinkle doesn't just cover bare soil, it smothers everything in its path. Its trailing stems root wherever they touch the ground, creating a dense carpet that chokes out native wildflowers, young shrubs, and pretty much any plant that dares to share its space. Once it's established, pulling it up feels like tugging at a fishing net tangled deep in the ground, endless and exhausting. And in natural areas, periwinkle invades forests, pushing out vital native species that local pollinators and wildlife rely on. In fact, ecologists consider it one of the most damaging invasive plants for wetland ecosystems. And once it gets established, it's extremely difficult to bring back balance. So what's a safer choice if you love those lush, low-maintenance ground cover? Consider creeping phlox or wild ginger. Creeping phlox gives you a vibrant carpet of pink, purple, or white flowers in spring that pollinators adore, and it stays neat without becoming invasive. Wild ginger, on the other hand, offers rich, heart-shaped leaves that thrive in shady spots and spread at a controlled pace. Both are attractive, hardy, and won't leave you regretting your planting decision 5 years down the line. Periwinkle might look innocent in a nursery pot, but don't be fooled. It's the kind of plant that will take more than its fair share, leaving your garden less diverse and far less enjoyable.
Coming in at number 6, let's talk about yellow flag iris. With its bold, sword-like leaves and striking yellow blooms, it's easy to see why gardeners are drawn to it, especially for water gardens, ponds, and wet areas. It looks exotic and adds height and drama to any setting. But behind that beauty lies a serious problem. Yellow flag iris is notorious for forming dense, impenetrable stands in wetlands and along waterways. Its rhizomes spread aggressively, creating thick mats that not only crowd out native plants, but also alter water flow and degrade habitats for fish, frogs, and other wildlife. And if you've ever tried to remove it, you'll know how tough those rhizomes are. They break apart easily, and even the smallest piece left behind can grow back into a full plant. So what can you grow instead if you love that tall, elegant look by the water? Two excellent alternatives are blue flag iris, a native cousin, and cardinal flower. Blue flag iris has the same graceful, sword-like foliage and stunning purple-blue flowers, but it plays nicely with other plants and supports pollinators. Cardinal flower, meanwhile, produces brilliant spikes of red blooms that hummingbirds go absolutely crazy for. Both of these plants will give your pond or rain garden a splash of color and elegance without turning into an invasive nightmare. So remember, while yellow flag iris may seem like the perfect water's edge plant, it's more like a Trojan horse. Beautiful on the outside, but capable of wreaking havoc once it takes root. And finally, number 7, the one I warned you about at the beginning. It looks harmless, almost charming, but it's one of the most aggressive invaders out there. Mint. Now, don't get me wrong, I love mint in the kitchen. Fresh mint leaves in tea, salads, desserts, it's wonderful. But in the garden? Planting mint directly in the soil is like opening Pandora's box. It spreads through underground runners, shooting out new stems in every direction, and before you know it, your neat little herb patch has become a mint takeover. It pops up in flower beds, lawns, pathways, you name it. And once it's established, good luck getting it under control. You can pull it, dig it, or even till it, and somehow it always comes back. So what should you do instead if you can't live without fresh mint? The key is container gardening. Grow mint in pots, raised planters, or even half-buried containers in your garden bed to keep those runners contained. If you're looking for safe, flavorful alternatives in the ground, consider herbs like thyme or oregano. Both spread gently, give you incredible flavor in the kitchen, and stay well-behaved in the garden. Mint is one of those plants that tricks you with its usefulness, but in reality, it's the garden equivalent of inviting a guest who never leaves. Keep it in a pot, and you'll enjoy all its benefits without losing control of your garden. Whew, we've covered a lot of ground today. Let's do a quick recap so you have a clear picture of which plants to avoid and what to plant instead. We started with English ivy, that deceptively charming climber that strangles everything in its path. Instead, go for Virginia creeper or climbing hydrangea for safe coverage and stunning seasonal color. Then we looked at lily of the valley, sweet-smelling but relentless underground. Much better choices are snowdrops or Virginia bluebells, which give you that same charm without the chaos. Next was the nightmare plant, Japanese knotweed. Strong enough to crack foundations. This one's a big no. Instead, try Joe Pye weed or switchgrass for bold height and beauty. At number 4, we had purple loosestrife, dazzling but devastating to wetlands. Swap it for blazing star or bee balm, both vibrant, pollinator-friendly stars. Number 5 was periwinkle, the sneaky ground cover that turns into a carpet of trouble. Safer options are creeping phlox or wild ginger, which stay controlled and beautiful. Then came yellow flag iris, stunning around ponds but highly invasive. Instead, plant blue flag iris or cardinal flower for elegance and pollinator appeal. And finally, mint. Delicious in the kitchen, but a total bully in the garden. Keep it in containers, and if you want safe culinary herbs in the ground, grow thyme or oregano. And here's a little bonus tip for sticking with me all the way through. If you want a pollinator magnet that's both stunning and safe, try planting coneflowers. They're low maintenance, come in gorgeous colors, and will keep bees and butterflies happy all summer long. So remember, with a little planning, you can have a garden that's not only beautiful, but also easy to manage, safe for the environment, and bursting with life. Now, before you head out into the garden, here are your next steps. If you found today's video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really helps more gardeners like you discover this channel. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a new video filled with tips, plant ideas, and design inspiration. I'd also love to hear from you. Which invasive plant has caused you the most trouble in your garden? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and I know other gardeners will learn from your experiences too. And if you're hungry for more ideas, check out the links in the description. I've put together a free guide to pollinator-friendly perennials that you can download and use as a planting checklist. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, your garden should bring you joy, not stress. Plant smart, and it will reward you for years to come. I'll see you in the next one. Happy gardening!